Danganronpa is a visual novel series that follows students forced to live in a school for all eternity. But if you can kill a classmate and get away with the crime, you'll be set free. For whatever reason, this premise attracted some of the most eccentric people from the second circle of hell, otherwise known as TikTok. And that's what I want to talk about today. We're going to learn about some unsettling stuff today. So, grab your popcorn, because this is Danganronpa's Most Deranged. Wait, when did you become a Danganronpa fan? I think I've earned the crazy privilege. Danganronpa had a massive resurgence around 2020 thanks to a variety of reasons. People rediscovering the game during lockdown, YouTubers crying at cRAY-AY-AY-ZEE, but the biggest culprit in my opinion was cosplay TikTok. You would see cosplayers become super famous from doing dances as their favorite characters to copywritten music. One of the most prominent at the time was a little fella known as Snow the Salt Queen. They were most known for their various Danganronpa cosplays, especially of Junko Enoshima. They were really dedicated to the bit, because Snow even tried to emulate Junko's trait of never staying out of trouble. One of their first notable incidents happened back in February 2019, when they posted a photo shoot they did as Mikan with a Komaeda cosplayer at a real graveyard posing on top of the tombstones. This was in pretty bad taste, as not only did they not get permission to take photos there, but they were literally dancing on people's graves. People called them out for their crappy behavior. The photographer posted a long Instagram story chain explaining the incident from their view, to a mixed reception, while Snow took the Sigma male route and mocked the haters.
I want a horde of Junko guineas to dance on my grave.
It became clear that they believed that they did nothing wrong. But a lot of people would look past this as they were still seen as a fairly talented cosplayer. They became so popular that they started selling their own Junko wigs for $300.
Holy shit.
For that price, you're expecting something done immaculately, divinely made by the one almighty. That was what one fan, a YouTuber by the name of Stardera, did when she ordered the mega commission from her. When she was supposed to receive it, the package was apparently stolen by a porch pirate. No bother though. The two arranged a replacement, but at the cost of another $175. However, Stardera got the first wig delivered before the replacement was even shipped out. So either Snow was a mind-bending time traveler, or they double-charged Stardera. It got worse when she filmed the unboxing video, where she received 8 messy wig clips and a quickly styled base wig. It was safe to say that she was disappointed because Snow did the bare minimum for a $300 commission. Those two stories were just scratching the surface because according to this Reddit comment, Snow allegedly committed cosplaying as lewd versions of minor coded characters for OF, raped at least one person, dated a pedophile, and even selling hard drugs to a minor. These are word of mouth, so take them with a grain of salt. People knew to be wary of Snow now, but at the very least, scamming for a frickin' overpriced wig would be the worst that they would do. Right? Snow's most infamous tale came in January 2021, and it's likely the only reason you know of them. But first, some important context. Snow was friends with a person by the name of Helen. She grew up with big aspirations thanks to her parents' job of traveling around the world as geneticists giving lectures. However, her time throughout school was less glamorous, as she was bullied due to various mental disorders, so she often felt isolated. But a light illuminated at the end of the tunnel where one of her friends would introduce her to a cosplay convention in Houston, where she would immediately fall in love with it. She started cosplaying more characters, started a TikTok account that grew a moderate following, and even met new friends. I can attest to this. It's genuinely amazing when you finally meet your tribe of people. She met people off and online, and thanks to these connections, she eventually befriended Snow, who was a local to the Houston area. It's also worth noting that the two have a 5-year age gap if my sources are correct. So Helen would have likely seen Snow as an older sibling type figure. They grew so close in fact, that Helen moved in with Snow nearing the end of her senior year. I mean, who wouldn't? Their house had many pets, but it smelled, and I quote, strongly of cat urine and vomit. So that's a good sign. It also helped that Snow was known for drinking and smoking weed. She was allowed to do those things, but Helen was underage at the time, yet she began picking up those bad habits. This concerned her parents, as they worry that she was hanging out with the wrong group of people. But still, Helen managed to graduate high school and was accepted to a nice art college in Ohio, and soon moved out of state for her first semester. In fall of 2020, no need to fear though, she met all kinds of fun and new people. Oh. The governor of Ohio sent out a new order to close down the schools thanks to a resurgence of
coronavirus.
No worries though. Helen would move back to Snow's smelly house to continue her semester online. Sadly, Snow's bad habits would soon return to her life. January 17th, 2021. At a night party with 5 of their friends, Snow and Helen were drunk watching the show Gotham, where then, Snow would brag about having a gun like the show's character, Penguin. They would fetch a gun that they had lying around from their ex-boyfriend's gun case, where they would start playing pretend with it for the next few hours. I mean, they took out the mag, it's going to be fine. One of Snow's friends came in and suggested that they pretend to point the gun at them, and later, Helen suggested doing the same to her. Snow believed the gun to be unloaded, so they placed it on the left side of her head, and just when they were about to laugh like drunken little idiots, Helen was sent to a nearby hospital and placed on life support, but nothing could be done. She was taken off life support 2 days later while her family was grieving the sudden loss. For a while, people outside the Snow friend circle thought that she took her own life, but police knew that something was fishy. Snow would admit to playing with the gun, but would strongly claim that, because they were extremely drunk, they never knew that the gun was loaded. To unload a pistol, most people know to take out the magazine, but there's also a second place where a magic bullet can hide in: the chamber. Many people neglect this fact, and in Snow's drunken state, they likely didn't care to check. They were arrested on the 28th with 3 charges of second-degree manslaughter and had their bail set at $20,000, which was quickly paid off by Daddy's money. And they would take a hiatus from social media, but only came back a month later in February, where they would post TikToks featuring Mikan, Toga Himiko, and Ayano Ashi, all characters that have some killer backgrounds. It's safe to say that it was very insensitive to post that. When the mainstream media came out with the news stories, people would quickly turn on Snow, this time for good. You would see TikToks everywhere talking about Snow like they were the boogeyman of cosplayers. Their court date was anticipated by many. October 21st came and went. Nothing. The legal process tends to take a very long time, but surprisingly enough, they were actually sentenced to 100 hours of community service and 5 years of supervised parole. That's it. For manslaughter. It's safe to say that Snow was given a slap on the wrist, and when people heard the news, they were disappointed to say the least. Still, this incident forced Snow to basically be exiled off the internet, forever to be known as Junko Enoshima IRL. As the years progressed and the memories faded away, Snow would surprisingly crawl back to TikTok as if nothing had happened. I'm not going to show their current account to prevent harassment, but it seems that they've mellowed out as time went on, as they've been sober for about a year now, and haven't been posting as much to their small remaining audience. But the scars they left on the cosplay scene and Helen's family could never be ignored. It might be for the best that Snow remains offline though. The old desire for online attention did more harm than good. Just like Junko herself. Well, that was tense. What could be worse than accidentally killing your so-called bestie? Being the victim of a murder, but with your reputation. Meet Tenko Hugs, who I'll just refer to as Allison. She's your average teenage lesbian cosplay account that blew up during the pandemic, mainly because her Mikon Sumiki cosplay looked really good. I don't get why these blow up. Can someone explain it to me? Regardless, she was seen as a valued member of the community for the longest time. But one day, a dark demon came to change her life forever. And that demon was named Romance. Behind the scenes, Allison got into a relationship with a person that goes by many names, but for simplicity's sake, we'll call them Twyla. The two got together back when they were in 9th grade in early 2021, as they shared a class, but they quickly grew close to each other to the point where they would start dating. Everything went well until Allison posted the Macarena TikTok with Mikon in November, the very moment she went from a nobody to one of the big boys in the TikTok world. Allison was rather surprised, but everyone was happy for her. Except for Twyla. As Allison started to feel a strange feeling within her, Twyla began showing her bad parts, which was too much for Allison as they soon broke up with each other. Something Twyla didn't take too well because she started to dig for dirt on her ex, thus beginning Allison's apocalypse. A few days later on a TikTok account titled Tenko Hugs is Over, Twyla posted various damning allegations against the silly Mikon cosplayer, faking being a lesbian, as, after the breakup, Allison got together with some man, being racist, as there were alleged screenshots of her saying some unsavory things about Mexicans. But the most damning was the SA in the shower, where Twyla claimed she did something to her after she refused consent. When these allegations came out, everyone on cosplay TikTok talked about it endlessly, and it didn't help that Allison was placed under such a bright spotlight. Because of all this pressure, she made an apology post covering everything, but as you can see from the like-comment ratio, people saw it as performative. Everyone was out for her, causing her to change account names, and later abandoning TikTok for good by the end of 2021. And that would have been the end for Allison's online story. A person who quickly rose to the top, but fell because she called the kids' cosplay ugly. Time progressed as she was destined to remain a cautionary tale in the TikTok world. However, in 2024, a new set of truth bullets were shot out that would change people's perception on the situation.
No, it's wrong.
A new TikTok account, Tenko Hugs Explained, was created and released new videos with evidence that could clear her name. Now, the account at the time of recording is set to private, but I managed to save some of the most crucial parts. Most importantly, Twyla admitted in a Discord DM to framing Allison for clout, and as a bit of petty revenge because she got together with another man. Some of these claims against Allison are framed as projections. The racism.
I don't care if it's bad to say, but like, I literally hate these so much, bro.
They're fucking Mexican bitches. They can Cinco de Mayo die.
Come on, man. Faking being a lesbian? This was an over-exaggeration, as Allison was questioning at the time about her orientation. The shower SA stuff? Allison claims that it was actually Twyla who continued to do stuff to her in the shower, even allegedly saying that she had to get used to it. Yikes. When these new revelations came out, people were surprised as it turned the entire narrative upside down. Was Allison actually a surprise TikTok martyr? It's questionable. There are people out there who don't buy the evidence at the explained count presented, and, to play devil's advocate, the evidence only really makes Twyla look bad rather than freeing Allison. This was a messy breakup from two young ignorant teens that had no business being online. This could have all been solved by the two talking it out with each other. You know, like actual adults. Honestly, I don't know what to believe, as evidence can be easily forged nowadays. I don't want you to view this story as a simple good versus evil, but rather as a great tragedy, because, in the game of pettiness, everyone's a loser. Nowadays, Allison prefers to live a private life. Allison never wanted fame or glory. She just wanted to do some silly dances as Mikon as an escape from the rough teenage years. She knows she's made many poor mistakes, but has made efforts to apologize and grow from them as she enters adulthood. If she's telling the truth, I'm happy for her. Wait, what does this have to do with Danganronpa again? Oh yeah, murder and betrayal. The two central themes of the games and stories that I've talked about. These stories had fascinated me for a while, but the only thing I could take away from them is that growing up is tough, but we need to choose our friends carefully. It's very important that the people we meet are good influences and will lift each other up, rather than tearing each other apart at the slightest disagreements.
Hi Beauty, how is your hair so stunning? It's simple, I put tampons in there.
The fuck?